All right, let's dive into a quick crash course on maybe the most complex thing in the entire universe, your brain. We're going to cover how this incredible organ is built, how it makes memories, and, what happens when things go a little wrong with the wiring. Ready?
So think about it for a second. How on earth does this 3-pound squishy thing inside your head control everything? Your thoughts, the way you move, your feelings, literally your whole reality. Well, the answer is all in its amazing design.
But before we can really get the brain, we've got to zoom out a little and look at the bigger picture. We're talking about the nervous system. You can think of it as the body's ultimate command center and communications grid, and it is organized with just unbelievable precision.
At the very top level, it's split into two big parts. You've got the central nervous system, or CNS for short, and the peripheral nervous system, the PNS. Basically, one is the headquarters and the other is all the agents out in the field.
And their jobs are super clear. The CNS, that's the brain and spinal cord, is the command center. It makes all the calls. The PNS, on the other hand, is the delivery network. It's this huge web of nerves that carries all the messages to the brain and then carries all the orders from the brain back out to every part of your body.
And that spinal cord, it is so much more than just a thing that holds you upright. Seriously, it's the body's main information superhighway. It's what connects the command center in your head to, well, everywhere else.
Now that field network, the PNS, it kind of has two different departments. First, there's the somatic system. That's for everything you decide to do, like getting up to grab a drink. Then you've got the autonomic system. That's the total autopilot. It's running your heartbeat, your breathing, your digestion, all without you ever having to think about it. It just works. Okay, so we've got the basic layout down. Now let's zoom right into the headquarters itself, the brain. And it's not just one big gray blob, It's actually organized into different zones, or lobes, and each one has its own very specific job. So you've got four big ones. Right up front is the frontal lobe. That's like your CEO, handling personality and problem solving. Then on the top, the parietal lobe helps you figure out where you are in space and processes sensations. In the back, the occipital lobe is all about vision, a total specialist. And on the sides, the temporal lobe handles hearing, speech, and even making memories. And if you need proof of how important that frontal lobe is, look no further than the wild story of Phineas Gage. This poor guy had an iron rod shoot straight through his head in a railroad accident. He survived, which is amazing, but his personality totally changed. His friends said he just wasn't Gage anymore. It's a shocking example of how much that one part of the brain makes you, well, you. Now, besides the lobes, there are a couple of other key players. Tucked away at the back is the cerebellum, sometimes called the mini-brain. It's absolutely crucial for balance and making your movements smooth. And then there's the brainstem, connecting everything to the spinal cord. It's the ultimate autopilot, keeping your heart beating and your lungs breathing, all day, every day.
All right, let's switch gears to one of the most incredible things the brain does, making memories. I mean, how does some random experience turn into something you remember forever? It's a crazy complicated process, but we can totally break down the basics.
Okay, first thing to get is that not all memories are created equal. You have your declarative memories. That's the what. Facts for a test or what you ate for breakfast. Then you've got non-declarative memories. That's the how. Think about riding a bike. You don't consciously think about it. Your body just knows. So, how does a new memory actually stick? Well, when you experience something new, a part of your brain called the hippocampus basically acts like a save button. It grabs that new info and gets it ready for long-term storage somewhere else in the brain. Seriously, without the hippocampus, you couldn't make any new lasting memories. You'd be stuck in the now forever. But here's the really wild part. Your memory is not a perfect video recording, not even close. Every single time you remember something, you're not just hitting play. You are actively rebuilding that memory from all these little scattered pieces. And that's exactly why memories can feel a bit different or even change over time. So far, we've been talking about how things are supposed to work. But what happens when things go wrong? When the wires get crossed or maybe the plumbing backs up? A stroke is basically a plumbing problem in the brain. For some reason, blood flow gets cut off, and that part of the brain is literally starved of oxygen. When that happens, brain cells start to die, and you get a sudden loss of whatever that part of the brain was controlling.
Multiple sclerosis, or MS, is totally different. That's a wiring problem. In this case, the body's own immune system gets confused and starts attacking the protective coating. It's called the myelin sheath that's wrapped around your nerve fibers. This damages the wires and just completely scrambles the signals trying to get through.
And finally, let's talk about something I think a lot of us worry about, especially as we get older: losing our memory. It's so important to understand the difference between what's just a normal part of aging and what might be a sign of something more serious, like dementia.
Look, occasionally forgetting someone's name but remembering it later, that's probably just normal aging. But asking the very same question over and over again, that could be a sign of dementia. The real difference, the thing to watch for, is when these memory issues start to get in the way of someone's ability to live their life on their own.
And the #1 cause of dementia is Alzheimer's disease. And let's be clear, this is not a normal part of aging. It is a specific, progressive disease where neurons in the brain die off, and the brain itself actually physically shrinks. That's what causes the terrible loss of memory and thinking we associate with the disease.
And that leaves us with this one kind of profound final thought. If our brain is the architect of our entire reality, it builds our world, our personality, who we are, what does it mean when that builder, the very foundation of our identity, starts to break down? It's a huge question, and it's what drives neuroscience forward every single day.